I'm lucky in that I am childless and have nothing that I want to capture for memory in the world, except for my Labubu. Which is, Hello and welcome to Artifactor. I'm Darrell and
And I'm Greg Compare.
And guess what? Greg is a couple octaves lower than normal.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hungover, and that tends to happen when I'm hungover. So,
well, it's cool. I like the sound. Maybe you should just aim to do that more often.
Yeah,
it's very radio voice.
Yeah, no, it's when I get hungover, I get stuffy. When I get stuffy, my voice gets deep. So
amazing.
There you go. There's way more information about me than you wanted.
Well, listeners, write in. Write in and let us know if this is the voice you prefer, and then if it does, so we
just leave a comment. So, Greg,
just drink every week.
Drink more, so that you're always hungover, so we can have that nice baritone voice.
Yeah, well, that's what we're willing to do these things for you, listeners, and viewers. By the way, yes, because this is a dual audio visual medium. We're on YouTube. If you haven't checked us out there, go check us out. You get some fun stuff. And I think we'll kick this week's episode off with some of that fun stuff, Greg, because I'm very excited to do something I think that happens on YouTube, but I've got this. And viewers might not know what it is. I didn't, because nothing about it is what it's called. Like on the surface, it says exciting Macron, the monsters.
Okay.
Vinyl face. But
okay.
It is a Labubu.
A Labubu, okay.
I don't know if it says Labubu anywhere on the box, which I don't understand. But
no, that would be lame. Why would you put that on the box so people knew what it was?
Maybe there was like, is it? Well, this is like the worst Labubu unboxing ever, because people like don't know anything at all about it.
What are you talking about? We are the Labubu Bros. That is,
we are the Labubu Bros.
Our other podcast.
Yes. And don't try to secure that domain, because guess what?
Yeah.
Already secured. Sorry about your luck.
Don't try to actually go find that podcast, because it's super secret.
It is super secret.
You have to know. We don't put the name on it. just like we don't put the name on the box.
On the box, yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
But you can, if you want access to that, you can just pay us a bunch of money. But reach out and we'll give you that. But it says here too, like, so this is how they're a blind box, right? Which is actually pretty fun. I do enjoy that.
Okay.
So it can be one of these. Greg,
okay.
Can you see the guys?
Yeah. I mean, there's a yellow guy and a pink guy. What's the chase? Do you know what the rare one is in this set?
Oh, I don't know what it is, or
is
what
there
it looks like.
Okay.
But there's one, and the chance that you get that one is 1 of 72. 1 in 72. Right. And it's 1 in 6 for everybody else. So let's go. I'm going to open it right now. Very exciting.
People are going to start this episode and be like, what the hell just happened?
What happened? They haven't said AI once, and the guy's opening a Labubu. Oh, okay. So it comes with a little sticker. I don't know if the sticker is representative of who you get, but maybe it is.
Okay.
And then, oh wait. It says sea salt coconut on it. So I think that means that's the one I got. I thought it smelled like that, but no. I'll show
scratch it. What if you scratch it?
Okay. No, I'm not scratching it, Craig. Case of resale value. Okay. Oh, and indeed, I believe I did get the sea salt coconut version.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you can see that. That's a clear sea salt coconut color. Oh boy. I mean, this thing is pretty adorable. I'm pretty happy with this. And then it's got a little key thing, so I can put it on my backpack. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
I hope you do.
Wow, this is very fun. It's very vinyl. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm hooked.
Oh, yeah. You decide, everybody. That's Darrell falling very, very deep down another rabbit hole.
I do tend to fall.
Now he spends all his money on cameras and Labubu.
I think even the packaging is. Yeah, this is smart. But I'll have to look up what the super ultra rare one is. Although it doesn't matter to me because I didn't get it. No, but I think I should preserve this box too, based on what I've heard, just in case in future. But it'll be like all the other fad things where it's not worth anything at all in, right now, or, 2 weeks from now, or however long it takes for the fad
It's only
to.
worth money if you send it to a random organization to get graded. And if they give it a 9.5, it's worth nothing. But
Yeah,
if they give it a 10, it's worth $1 billion.
yeah,
That's the way it works with all this stuff now.
I know. But I think also like the fact that we did this means that the trend is over. So it's probably worth nothing.
We did it. We killed it.
But do check out labubros.com. By the time you're listening to this, I'll have put something up there that's a placeholder. Maybe just a picture of me holding that thing.
Is this one good? Question mark.
Yeah.
That's it.
I will say of the colors that were available, I'm glad I got this one. It was this or gray, which we'll get to in our next segment, my color preferences, because we are going to be talking about the iPhone event, Apple's iPhone event, which happens every year, which just happened. And they announced new iPhones, not a surprise, but there was a couple things that were different than usual.
Yeah.
And
what if Apple got into blind boxes?
Well, that actually probably would do well if they just did blind box colorways, at least like that.
Or like blind box cases.
Oh, yeah, blind box cases would go huge because I don't think. Actually, that's the one place people do care probably because it's the part that people actually see of your phone versus the actual metal underneath, which almost nobody does because regular people use cases. I do not, have never, hate them, but other people do. But yeah, it was this past Tuesday, as you're listening to this last week, and they had it in Cupertino, which they always do. They did a pre-recorded video, which they have done basically since COVID, but people did go out and experience the phones firsthand, had some hands-on time with them. I've seen a lot of the impressions and reviews. I did not do that. I have done in the past, but it's been many, many years. And I saw also our former colleague, Matthew Panzarino, was lamenting that this is the first time in many, many years that he has not just had one of these phones given to him for review purposes.
Oh, Panzer.
He has to go secure one himself. But yeah.
I will say, while watching the Apple event, after years and years and years and years of being at these events live, it's almost anxiety inducing for me because I still feel the need to be doing something with this like live vlog energy that I've got, right? It's like, I'm supposed to be tweeting this. I'm supposed to be doing something. Like, where do I? So I was literally just texting people. What, like everyone I could, I was texting them my opinions.
Yeah, and we were doing a little bit of chatting in our super secret Slack group that we have for ex-TechCrunch people. And yeah, it was pretty fun. It brought back some memories. I also, unfortunately, had to be doing real work at the same time, so I wasn't super engaged in it. And I watched the event, but I only got to see like half of it live, and then I had to like catch up on some of it after the fact, as well as just consuming a whole bunch of the recap videos and stuff from other people on YouTube to see what exactly had been announced. But we're going to break it down for you in case you haven't seen it and share kind of our thoughts about what they showed off and what wasn't there and maybe what will be there in future, because I think that's maybe some of the more exciting things about this event in particular. But to start, they did do new AirPods, which like I think might have been the most universally loved and acclaimed update because it's AirPods Pro. People like AirPods Pro a lot. I think they kind of suggested that maybe they were the most popular version of AirPods. It wasn't clear, like they didn't say that specifically, but they had some suggestion that like it might not be regular AirPods, but it might be AirPods Pro that most people end up buying. And this is the third generation. They're not drastically changed, but they did change some of the important things about how they work. Like there's supposed to be 2x better noise cancellation, which is a huge benefit of getting the AirPods Pro. So I think people were excited about that. There was some debate online about what 2x really means in this context, because if it's just a 200% increase in the amount of noise, like somebody was talking about, like it could just amount to like basically 2 more decibels of noise canceled out, which is not like a dramatic change, but could
Yeah.
arguably be 200% improvement.
Yeah, but decibels are weird, man, because it's not like a linear thing, right?
No,
It's kind of like the earthquake scale, where the jump from 4 to 6 decibels is much slighter than the jump from like 6 to 8,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's on a curve or something. I don't know. I remember there being something very weird about all that.
Well, yeah, and the scale doesn't reflect how it's perceived too, so it could make a very significant difference. I think the interesting thing that I want to find out is like um, how that. So the thing they changed was that another thing they changed was they changed the ear tip construction. So it's not just silicone anymore; it's silicone over foam,
Hmm.
and I think those have had some challenges in the third-party versions with how well they are at sound isolation. But Apple said that that is going to help a lot with just the passive noise isolation. And the other thing that happens with those is they tend to maybe have shorter lived lives, like because the foam can get like compressed over time, basically, and
Sure.
isn't as able to spring back. But I'm excited about it because that combined with they changed exactly how they sit in your ear and even the shape of the hard plastic part of the buds. And for me, AirPods Pro, while great and in general use fine during sustained like athletic activity, tend to
Totally.
work their way
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
I'm
100%.
hoping this fixes that.
I find them comfortable when I'm sitting.
Right.
And then I start to run, and like it's not that they fall out; it just kind of feels like they're gonna fall out.
Yeah, exactly. They don't actually fall out. They just kind of work their way of somewhat loose, and
Yeah,
then the cancellation gets way worse, and they get quieter, and it's
yeah,
annoying. And then I have to like squeeze them back in, right? Which I
yeah.
don't have to do with other brands of noise cancellating earphones. Like right now, I'm using Marshall Monitor 2 ANC. Actually, no, they're called Motif 2 ANC, but they're Motif, I guess, is the real word and how you pronounce it. But they're very good. They're rock solid in my ears. They do not
Sweet.
go anywhere. So, just speaking of activity, though, these are also the first AirPods Pro to have an actual official IP rating. So they're like IP58 water dust resistance, which is probably better for exercise purposes. I've also burned out some AirPods Pro through activity because sometimes one will just fail, and I'm kind of like, is that because I sweat so
Yeah,
profusely?
you're
Yeah,
sweating too hard, man.
I think that's what
It's
it
like a
is.
waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I don't know, they advertise that you should use these for workout because they used to always say like, oh, they're like sweat resistant, but they wouldn't put a
Yeah,
figure on it, right?
yeah.
So
No, they want you to work out, just don't sweat.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As soon as you start to sweat, you take the AirPods out. It's fine.
Well, it's true. And I am disgusting for sweating. What a filthy human being. But there's that. And then the last big thing that I remember was the battery life. So they've increased the battery life such that they now last 8 hours with ANC on. So that's a single charge. That's not including the case recharges, right?
Yeah,
Which is really good. Like that
yeah,
is like, I think they said it in the keynote, but it's a transatlantic flight, right? Which
yeah,
is a big difference. If you can go the entire time from New York to London or France or whatever,
yeah,
without having to charge them versus having to charge them, that's a big
yeah.
difference.
I
Material
mean,
difference.
honestly, just because of the nature of like, even if you are in a transatlantic flight, if you need to go to the bathroom, you're gonna take them out for a second. You're gonna store them in the case, which is gonna recharge them anyways, right?
Although
And
I
so
would
like,
never do that. I keep them on because I don't want to hear anybody around me. I don't
oh
walk into the bathroom. I
yeah,
don't want anybody
that's
to
your
bother
private jet
me.
right there.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like the idea that I can't think of any time when I've ever had AirPods in for nearly 8 hours straight. Like I don't know. I feel like my ears would start to ache if I didn't take them out for like a minute. So
I've definitely had them on the route on the Toronto to San Francisco, which is about 5 hours, sometimes 6 if you're stuck on the tarmac or whatever. But I've had that experience where, yeah, they started to feel a little like not sore, but like
yeah,
tired in my
yeah.
ears, like
I mean
physically.
it happens to me even with like over
Yeah,
ears, right? Like this starts
it
to feel
happens to
kind
be
of
worse with
bruised.
over ears.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, so you're right. It's probably not that big of a thing, but in general, more battery life equals better for me with all of these devices because it just means longer before I have to think about the recharge time and stuff. And yeah, I think that's it. I mean, the other thing they announced, these ones, so no, I'm wrong. There is another core hardware feature, which is they have heart rate trackers in them, built in, which first came to the Beats Fit Pro, which are also made by Apple, but like the Beats brand is always sort of weirdly distant from Apple Core in ways that are unclear. But they got the heart rate tracking first. Now AirPods Pro will get it. And the big update is that the one Beats Pro didn't work with Apple Fitness for some reason. It worked with third-party apps that supported heart rate trackers, but they didn't have in Apple's own product. Again, I think something to do with the weird Beats relationship that goes on. And also, I like at the time I had suspected like, they probably don't want this because it will cannibalize sales of the Apple Watch, which is their big main heart tracking thing. So my conspiracy theory brain was like, they're just going to keep it out of their own product so that you have to go buy an Apple Watch. But they're bringing it to Apple Fitness with the AirPods Pro. And if you have an Apple Watch, it will intelligently switch off between them depending on which it determines is more accurate at any given time. So
trippy. Okay.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Yeah, but I mean, the other nice thing is that if you don't have an Apple Watch, don't love the smartwatch life, you can now like track your activities and get accurate heart rate measurements if you're going for like an outdoor run or something without having to have one of those things. So I think great.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really like to wear my Apple Watch when I'm doing physical activity. And maybe it's because of the band that I have on there. It just feels yucky, you know, like once I start to get sweaty, like I don't like things touching my wrists.
Yeah, I like it, but I mean, I've only recently, like this band, which viewers will be able to see, but listeners can't, which is the titanium mesh bracelet.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call, but it's, this one is the one that like I've been seeking since the Apple Watch came out. I've been seeking a band that was like the band that I never had to take off and that I could use in all settings, including like sleep, social, whatever. And it's this one. This one is great. It's extremely comfortable. The way that the mesh interlinks are designed, it doesn't catch my arm hair, which there's a lot of.
Nice.
And it's just very comfortable. And unlike the regular mesh bracelet, like the clasp is fixed, so it doesn't change size like over time wearing it, like it stays in place. Right?
You see, I, on the other hand, have the band that the watch came with.
Right.
And I'm using the sport band like a peasant. So
sport band's fine. Sport band's probably next best after this thing for me.
No, I like it.
Anyways, let's talk about Apple Watch because that's next. Well, first, before we leave AirPods Pro, there's one other interesting bit of software, and they're doing live translation. So you will be able to hear a translated version in your language of choice, preference, whatever, from a live conversation with somebody. Obviously, they're playing into your ears. So to reverse that process, you'll have to show the person your phone, and it will spell out what you're saying back in their language. But it looks very cool, at least in the demo. This is extremely canned demo, so who knows what it'll actually be like in real life. This is one of those things that's using Apple's on-device AI stuff.
Yeah.
It's using Apple Intelligence, but I'm very curious to try this out, and luckily I'll be able to try this out next week when I go to Japan for a little vacation. But, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see how people's feelings about this change over time. So about 5 or 6 years ago, right, Google introduced this idea of like being able to do this on your phone, and like you talk and then it shows on the screen the translation, and then you tap or whatever, like, and like it's meant for exactly this, but on a phone instead of through the AirPods, right? And when I tried a couple times to get folks to use this when I was traveling, and everyone was like, no, like, I don't want to. And it's like, that's totally fair. Totally get it. But like people were not comfortable with it at that point.
Yeah, I think that part will still be hard, but the other part whereby people are talking to you in a different language and like you can receive it in yours is already useful. Even if it's a one-sided conversation, it's useful for getting contextual information about what's going on, right? And then like the internet is like full of people making jokes about how they'll now be able to hear what their nail artists are saying at the nail salon. Like I've seen that one, I think, a million times in any number of different configurations. So
a little bit
questionable in terms of like what it says about the relationship between that service industry and its customers. But
Just
I
means
guess
no one can talk shit around AirPod users anymore.
yeah.
All right.
I heard somebody else talking about it like at the barbers, and I was like, you can't wear your AirPods while you're getting your hair cut.
Hey man, there's no cord to cut. It's all right. Just
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just got a haircut, and I guess mine
yeah.
would be all right. Like I don't have hair coming down over the ear holes, so I should be safe. Yeah, so that's the last thing on AirPods. Definitely gonna pick up a new pair of those because my aforementioned my AirPods Pro 2 are flaky on one bud. They're still usable, but it's definitely like it's it, they are broken and on their way to full malfunction because of I think moisture exposure or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then we also had Apple Watch. The Apple Watch announcements were pretty modest overall. They didn't really make any big changes except to the SE line, which surprisingly got a lot of the features of the better models, more expensive models. So like the Series, which is a weird name, and then Ultra, both of them usually like have way more bells and whistles, way better internals than the SE line, which is the Apple's most affordable line. But they brought the same chip, the same system on a chip package down to the SE this time. You're basically not missing it on a lot, except for some of the more advanced health tracking features, right? So I think it's like the electrocardiogram you don't get on that one. So it is significant, especially if it's like as Apple Watches are becoming more popular for this category, like for older adults who are like trying to, have something that can keep them alerted to possible emergencies that they may encounter, right? So I think that is the category of customer who probably want to stay away from the SE, but it's a great entry-level device for almost everyone else. And it's, Greg, I'm curious on your take on this, but like I've heard people talk about how like this is good for kids because if you don't, before you want to give them a phone, like you give them the SE with like, I think they have a cellular version of it or something. And it has a lot of the features that you would want them to have in terms of being able to get in touch and hear from you and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Honestly,
geolocate.
I'm just getting to that point now, right? My solution thus far, whenever I need to know where my kid is, like if my kid's going on a field trip or whatever, I just slip an AirTag into his pocket,
Right.
just so I can be like, oh, they left the school, right? But now it's getting to the point with my just recently turned 7-year-old that I want him to be able to be like, to let me know if something's going on or if he's having a hard time at school or whatever, right? And so having a relatively accessible Apple Watch with minimal downsides, is a good thing. So
yeah, and that's like just one use, because I think also anybody else who is like either new to Apple Watch or just needs the basic functionality, like this is a no-brainer choice now at this point, and
yeah,
considerably cheaper than the other options.
yeah,
It also is like different materials, right? So it's I think aluminum and maybe plastic or something versus some of the others are titanium and sapphire glass and whatever else. But like those are probably not going to make a huge difference to a big swath of customers, right?
No, it's just nice that there's like, if someone says like, hey, should I get an Apple Watch? Which one? It's nice for there to be like one straightforward answer.
Yeah,
it's like, if you don't need all the super fancy stuff, just get that one.
Yeah, and this is a trend, and we'll talk about it more later when we talk about the iPhone, but that was kind of one of the themes of this event. But yeah, then the other Apple Watches, like the 11, Series 11, I think the main thing, this one I am actually less certain about, because the main thing I think that it got was better claimed battery life, but I don't think it really got any other improvements beyond that. Oh, I think it got 5G option instead of just LTE for the cellular on board. And that's not really going to do anything in terms of like speed, but it will do something in terms of efficiency because it's more power efficient versus LTE.
That makes sense.
And then like 5G also comes to the Ultra line. Ultra line also got a minor but good update. The display is now on par with the 10, what was introduced in the 10 and were brought over to the 11, and it's a lower refresh rate. Like, so it can refresh as low as 1 hertz per second, which is allows it to do like second display when it's in its passive mode. So if you have it down, it can show the seconds ticking away, which the older screen that was on the outgoing Ultra couldn't do. And it's a little bit brighter and it's a little bit more visible off axis. So if you happen to be glancing down inconspicuously at your watch to check the time, you'll have an easier time seeing what it says. It's also small or larger, but it's the fraction of how much larger it is so small that it doesn't show up on the numbers on Apple's website, because it's less than I think they go to the second decimal on inches, like 0.0 something inches, and it's not enough to tick that up a different number.
It's technically larger.
Yeah. And it has like smaller bezels. That's the way that shows up. The case is otherwise the same, right? But yeah, I mean, not a bad one. And again, you get that 5G too. And then you also get satellite in the watch, like directly. So where they added satellite to the Apple iPhone as a way to like get connectivity if you're off the beaten path. You can now do that directly on the Ultra, which is good for the actual Ultra users of Ultra, like the crazy off-road ultra marathoners or whatever, right? Like that's a useful actual feature to have. So
yeah, I mean, it's great for like you can still have the emergency satellite access if you for some reason left your phone in the car or whatever. If you're on mountain biking, you didn't want to bring your phone, or in the weird like worst case scenario where you take a fall and your phone gets destroyed, you'll still have that emergency access straight to your watch.
I heard a horrible example of when that might happen. It might have been on the Vergecast, but they were saying like, oh yeah, like if you drive your car off of a cliff and then your phone is thrown from your body, but like your watch is still on there.
Sure.
Like, oh, good, great.
Yeah, that's pretty specific, but hey, like it'll happen. Statistically, that'll likely happen eventually. So
yeah, and then if you survive, you'll be on Apple's keynote next year, because they now do this basically every year, but they had a large montage of people being like, hey, the Apple Watch saved my life, before they introduced the Apple Watch. Right? Yeah. Which is like, I mean, good. I'm not against the Apple Watch saving people's lives, to be very clear.
Why do you hate people, Darrell?
Hey, it was your time and you interfered. Now your Final Destination.
Now you kicked off a whole Final Destination thing.
Yeah. Tim Cook, don't invite Final Destinations. This is going to be my national ad campaign. I'm going to put out like print ads that are just like, we need to boycott Tim Cook because he's Final Destinationing everybody.
He's messing with fate. God.
But yeah, I think that's about it for Apple Watches. Like there were some other new bands and things, which, they always do that. It's a seasonal thing they did. They did have one thing that usually I wouldn't care about, but I just was like somewhat delighted by it, which they have like a new Hermes watch face, which you can only get if you get the Hermes edition, right? They've always had these like exclusive watch faces for those. But this one was really cute. It was like a pixelated, cute, fun one with like the Hermes horse and some other stuff. Go look it up, or I'll put it in the video feed probably.
How does that? Do we know how that works? Like, is it the band itself sliding into place unlocks it? It's like just a software toggle. Like if I know a fancy person who has the Hermes band, can I just borrow it for 5 seconds and go click?
I have no idea, and I would like to find out. But I think that I don't think it's the band, because I think it's associated with the watch itself. I think if you buy an Apple Watch Hermes band and put it in a normal watch, it does not unlock any additional faces or anything like that. Because when you get the Hermes one, it has Hermes printed on the back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll look into that. Maybe we'll do some follow-up in future episodes about how they that's like, what do you call it? It's just like digital rights management essentially, or whatever, right? Like it's DRMing your Hermes faces, which is wild, but Apple's very good at locking stuff down. So I don't doubt that they can do it.
Yeah. They should do a U2 face that they send out to everybody's watch.
Oh my God. People do need to know about the U2 thing, and because we've talked about it multiple episodes now, but we'll keep talking about it until the whole world remembers the U2 disaster. So good though. It was I don't want to derail us, but it was a very like illustrative moment of like, no, you don't understand culture the way that you think you do. Like,
Yeah.
you thought this was going to be good, and it was universally, everyone was mad and was like, why did you do this? It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Big
was
whiff.
also still this time. The times have changed since, but we are still at the end of this time in which people who collected music on their device were very particular about like organizing everything and doing it their way, right? And sorting the artists exactly, and then in their MP3 collection or whatever, exactly how they wanted it, tagging everything just right. And then all of a sudden, this YouTube shit gets dropped in. They're like, "Here you go.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
there
now
forever
it
now."
seems silly because you'd be like, I don't know, is it in my Spotify collection? Sure,
Yeah.
I don't really. Although that would
Yeah.
be very off-putting to me too, if like U2 started playing in my Spotify collection, because it definitely never would have gotten in there organically. So, yeah. So that's basically it for Watch. And then the iPhone was the main event, and that was where they spent most of their time. It was actually like not as long as some events have been in past. I think this one was like a nice tidy hour and a half, as opposed to sometimes they go the full 2. But they talked about iPhone for the longest portion of that, as makes sense. And then there were 4 iPhones. Usually there's 4 last year too, but they were a different configuration of the 4. So first there was just basic iPhone, and I alluded to this earlier, but basic iPhone, like iPhone 17, is the thing where you can be like, yeah, just get the iPhone 17. Like this year, more so than ever before. Last year was also kind of true, but the big difference is that this year they brought the good display to all the iPhones, including the iPhone 17. So the iPhone 16 and earlier, for many years now, I can't remember how many generations, they've basically gated the best display technology to the Pro line. And that has been something they've been criticized for heavily by observers, and especially by people who are familiar with like Android devices, because it meant that the basic iPhone, like non-Pro, didn't get, or only got 60 hertz refresh rate on the screen, which is kind of way behind the times in terms of the state of the art of technology, right? I think some of the Android gaming phones and stuff have like 240 hertz screens, which who knows if you can even see that, depending on your ocular ability. Like it might not be imperceptible to you, but like 60 was kind of a joke. And they also, so this one now adds up to 120, but it goes all the way from 1 hertz to 120. So it will do the very low power always on display mode too, first time in the non-Pro version. That is also like a questionable utility, but it's just nice that they brought it there. And it has 3000 nits of brightness in outdoor light, like max spike brightness. So that's the same across every single iPhone now in this 17 lineup, and also the other iPhone, which is not 17, just Air. So that's the other new iPhone they brought. But let's pause for a minute and talk about that iPhone 17. I mean, the only other difference now is that it has 2 cameras on the back. It has the main 48 megapixel camera, and then it has a 48 megapixel wide angle camera. That is also improved for this year. And they added the new selfie cam, which all the phones also got, which has an 18 megapixel square sensor, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you can then select whether to go landscape or portrait, or it will automatically do it for you if you tap that setting, if like more people come into the frame or something like that.
Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite features of the whole iPhone lineup this year, is that square sensor, just because it's just kind of a trip, right? It's a trippy idea to be able to shoot like proper resolution landscape photos while holding your phone in portrait mode. I am intrigued to see if it brings photo bombing back, right?
Oh yeah.
Because people jumping into frame, it's gonna go and zoom out now.
I think
So
that's great. And I think that should be very fun. And hopefully we'll make for some fun TikToks or something.
yeah,
But Oh, and this is kind of related, but they also added a feature whereby you can record both the front and back video simultaneously, with the one inset in the other in the top corner, which is like, no one will remember this except for Roman Dia. I hope he listens to this, but Front Back is like the app that used to do this.
it was like the thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't simultaneous recording, right? Like you had to take one and then you took the other picture, I think, and it inset it, or did it take them both simultaneously?
I think it was both simultaneously, but now you're making me doubt myself.
I was
I
like,
mean, the
did
whole
they
thing.
even have access to that technology back then? But maybe they did. Anyways, we'll look it up, or we'll include some footage here too of front back so you can see that, because they were pioneers. And I remember the best was we were at CES and front back was like popular, and we were walking to the show. Greg, I don't know if you were there for this, but remind me if you were. But we were walking to the conference center, and there was a dead pigeon on the ground, and John Biggs took a picture of the dead pigeon on the ground, and then a picture of all of us like being like extremely excited, like hey, and then that was the front back that he sent to like the TechCrunch group. It
Oh
was
gosh.
terrific.
Yeah. So looking it up real quick, I think front back was mostly pictures and not
Yeah. Okay.
video, right?
That's
And so
that makes
right, so
sense.
it could do a picture front and back simultaneously. I don't think it had access to both cameras, just because, as far as I remember, like the API for cameras only lets you call one or the other, and
That's right.
if you try to call both, it throws errors.
Yeah. So it was a technical limitation. Now that technical limitation is gone because
Yeah,
Apple has introduced this at system level. And I don't remember if they said developers will have access, but I imagine they will.
yeah.
Uh,
Eventually, at least, I'd be
yeah.
surprised if they don't. Like you'll have to like. So there's weird things there, right? Because right now, Apple ensures that you're only, if you're calling a camera, the camera image has to be shown on screen, so
Right.
you know that your camera's on, right? That's their equivalent of like a green light or whatever, because otherwise there's privacy implications. Like if you're pulling from the front facing camera but not rendering the front facing camera, you could be taking all kinds, like you get lots of weird double chin pictures of people or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so to do that with both cameras at once, they're definitely going to have to make sure that the user always knows that both are on. So that's probably the only hesitation or restriction, or if there's any delay there. That's why, is building out the APIs that like are checking to make sure that both camera feeds are visible on screen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw some YouTubers demoing this, and it does, you can see how it would be useful to something like a TikTok, right?
Oh yeah,
Because you can then comment right on top of the video, like you often see on TikTok,
yeah,
except it's not cut out. It's like in a frame with the rest of the world behind you and everything
yeah,
else. Right?
yeah. And I mean, especially with the new square camera sensor, with it basically being like center stage kind of thing, you can imagine people doing like one-on-one interviews, right?
Yeah.
Where like on like straighter interviews or whatever, where you're talking to someone, but then a little version of you is down in the bottom right, and it's automatically reframing you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other person is holding like, or you're holding like a tiny mic to them or whatever, which is the style, or like a Labubu that has a mic hidden behind it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was cool. The camera stuff is cool, and the base iPhone looks really great, and like is a thing that I have no hesitation in recommending to everyone now at this point.
Yeah.
And then I think, yeah, missing whatever the zoom, that's almost nothing to most people. Like, you miss out on the stuff that is truly, like, they're really truly doing pro stuff with the Pro phone now. Like, you don't get access to the ProRes video recording, which is
Yeah.
a format that you would use if you're doing advanced color grading after the fact. The Pro phones are so good at cinematography and videography now that it makes sense for them to like emphasize that as the difference. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about the Pros. But
Yeah.
if you don't need any of those things, you're going to be very happy with iPhone base model. It also gets a bumped up battery life, I think, to like 33 hours of video playback, which is Apple's terrible measurement system, but it should be much better than last year is all you need to know. Yeah.
I have an important question.
Yeah.
So you were on the fence going into this event
I was.
as to whether or not you were switching to an Android phone as your main device.
Yes.
And like,
And what happened, it's a combination of two things, but basically I was waiting for the Pixel announcement. That was going to be my big decider.
okay.
Pixel announcement wasn't that exciting or interesting. They are basically in many ways the same phones as last year with some improvements on the software side. And that's especially true for the Fold, which is the one that I was really interested in. The Fold didn't get any real significant hardware design upgrades except for the IP58 rating or whatever it got. But yeah, that combined with then the Apple ones, like I just still do go back to quality of life with iPhone, and I'm like, I do. There's so many things that I'm like, I'm just used to this, and it's going to be hard to switch it, even if it's something that I will get over pretty quickly. I don't want the momentary annoyance of it, and yeah. So that combined with like, this is Pixel wasn't that interesting, and Apple was interesting, and so that's what I want to get to next, because Apple did introduce something new, which is the iPhone Air, which is definitely dividing opinion right now on the internet. But the iPhone Air is what you probably expect from the name. Like, it's the thinnest, lightest version in the lineup now. And it's only like 5.65 millimeters thin, I think, is the measurement, versus the regular iPhone is like 8.3 or something like that. So it shaves off what sounds like not a lot, like 3 millimeters, but what makes a lot of difference when you're like actually holding and looking at the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, who on the planet was like, oh, my iPhone is just too thick?
Well, that's a good question, because this is the one I opted for this generation.
You went with the Air?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was, so first of all, it was just interesting, which I'm a sucker for. So I'm like, okay, you did something different. And that was what I'm talking about in the context of the Pixel. It's like, oh, you did something, like, you took a swing. Like, I'm going to go try that one, because they're probably going to be like mostly equal in almost all other regards. But like, at least you tried something that has been markedly different than what you've done before.
Sure.
And all the on-site people were like, it is one of those things where you're like, this doesn't make any sense to me, and then you pick it up and you're like, this is amazing, I love this thing. Like, basically every YouTuber's reaction was like open mouth astonishment, right? So I have the 16 Pro right now, Pro Max, and I'm always like, oh, this thing's huge, I hate it, it's so huge, I hate how big it is. And the plan before Air got in the mix was just to go down to 17 Pro this year. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, it's new, it's fun, like, I want to try that out. Everybody's amazed at how it feels. And everyone describes it as like feeling like living in the future, which is like maybe one of the number one things that I want to feel like all the time. And then I was thinking about the trade-offs too, and I talked to Matthew about this, Panzerino, a bit too, because we were going back and forth. Matthew, I don't want to blow up his spot, but he loves Apple things, so he's like probably going to try a few of them and then decide what he settles on. But I made the firm commitment to the Air, and the hardest parts for me were giving up the battery life, but then I was like, you know what, like, it's actually not that inconvenient to just have to plug it in for like 20 minutes during the day while you're doing something else. Like, that's very, very easy to do in a worst case scenario, right? I also did get the MagSafe battery pack, which they designed specifically for the Air, which was very funny, because they announced it and they were like, it's great, it's got all-day battery. And then they were like, by the way, here's this other thing. It's a battery pack for that thing that we just said has all-day battery.
It's great, don't worry about it. But we do have this specifically designed battery just for it.
Just don't worry about it. Not for any other ones. But it's because on paper, its battery rating is the same as the 16 Pros. Like, that's what people are pointing out, right? So it should be fine, but just in case, there's that. The other big trade-offs are it only has one camera. But again, I was a little bit like, that sounds good to me. Like, I kind of want to go back to a place where, like, oh, I don't need to worry about it. Like, there's a constraint, and the constraint is, I mean, I like photography and I like fixed lens cameras, because it's like, you have constraints in your creativity, and it should make you more creative in terms of your framing and how you use the thing, right?
Yeah, I got to let people in on the joke though, that within the XTC Slack room, the running joke is that Darrell bought the iPhone Air with its one camera specifically so he could justify carrying around his big pro camera, like his DSLR all the time, or his fancy camera.
It's true, but I won't be carrying around a big one. What the camera I will be carrying around, and I have already started doing this just to see, is the Fujifilm X70, which if you kids out there don't know what this is, because it's now a 9-year-old camera, almost 10-year-old camera, but maybe one of the best cameras ever made, like bar none. It's a pocket camera with an APS-C sensor in it. It's a 18 megapixel, which sounds like almost nothing now, APS-C sensor in there, and a fixed 18 millimeter, which is like because of the crop factor, like a 28 millimeter equivalent lens. And it is wonderful. It is one of the best cameras that's ever made because it will actually literally fit in your pocket. It's, but it takes beautiful pictures with like Fuji's color science or whatever, right? I've used it for travel like all over the world, and it's produced some of my favorite pictures of any of my cameras, including like big, $8,000 Sony cameras or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's my plan, is to carry that thing around like a hipster and pull that thing out of my pocket and take cool ass pictures, and then just not worry about my iPhone camera. So
yeah. And,
yes.
when you need to recharge the battery and to plug it in for 20 minutes, you'll just go have a little photo session with your Fuji.
Yeah, exactly. Which also only has micro USB, and so it's super annoying to charge that one. Yeah. But yeah, I think like, I don't know. I feel like I so rarely use the camera other than the regular, like standard wide, as they call it, iPhone camera. And I think that where I might miss it more is that the basic iPhone, you can't shoot Pro RAW, which is Apple's like RAW format for still photos, which I use a lot. So that might be difficult, but I think I could still use like Lightroom to shoot their RAW format, or there's other ways to access RAW. It's just not Apple's like intelligent RAW.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that part goes. That was the part that I was the most worried about. I don't do a lot of videography because that's the other place where you're dinged a bit. And the only other thing is that it has USB 2 on the port as opposed to USB 3 on the other phones, which gets you much faster transfer speeds, right? If you're like transferring, but again, that's more like a videography problem and not really like a meat problem, right? So
Sure. Yeah. I ended up going with the Pro, the 17 Pro, just because like I need the flexibility of the different cameras. That's like the main thing for me, is the flexibility of the cameras, because with my kids, oftentimes I'm taking pictures in environments where I like on the sidelines at a soccer game or whatever, right? Where it's like I need to have every kind of lens on there.
Yeah.
Right. Or we're at a birthday party in like a weirdly cramped room. Like I need to be able to have like the fisheye zoom out lens. You know?
The ultra wide. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think that probably will be a decider for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky in that I am childless and have nothing that I want to capture for memory in the world. Except for my Labubu.
What do you want me to say, Darrell? I got nothing. All right. I will say, we're going to get this back on topic here. I feel like this event was Apple flexing with hardware engineering. Like the main purpose, the main underlying unspoken theme of this event was like, look, AI stuff, we'll talk about that eventually.
Right.
What y'all need to remember is that we are ridiculously good at hardware engineering.
And they are.
You look at this across the board, right? With the heartbeat sensors in the AirPods, right? That's pretty amazing. You add in stuff like the water resistance. That's great. Okay.
Even the minor refinements to the Apple Watch were all essentially just like, eke a little bit battery out of it. We can just
the aforementioned stuff about putting the satellite within the Apple Watch. Like that's absurd from like a radio and engineering standpoint. That's pretty wild. And they talk a little bit about this, but like I'm a dum-dum, and even I was like, wait, what? Like, how'd you do that in a watch? And then within the Pro, like within the Air, right, to effectively cram a whole phone just within this one little bit of what is like recognized as a camera bump, like all the chips are there. The rest is all battery, as far as I understand, right? Like that's wild. Like they did some very, very, very impressive engineering this time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, basically what we've seen now since is that all of the thing that you would think of as the guts of a phone are resident in the camera plateau, like where that single camera is, and the rest is just display and battery, right? And then the little connector thing and the buttons, but like nothing to do with anything about like the smarts of the device, right?
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
very intrigued to see what that does for repairability of the Air.
right.
Like, because that,
I think
like,
it'll have a terrible
uh,
repairability
but
score.
but in theory, like, if they really, really wanted to, like, they could have made that almost like swappable, right?
That's
Like,
true. You could just swap out the module, like, but
right?
then
Like,
that would be
if you bust your
expensive because
screen,
it's a
if you
whole
bust your
motherboard.
battery, it's not all tangled up together anymore. Now
Yeah,
you just go, like, somehow it's not gonna like pop off or like slide off, obviously.
yeah,
But that would have been like next level announcement for them to be like, oh, you break your screen, take it in, and we go bloop bloop,
yeah.
you're good.
Yeah, and they might. I mean, we'll see because you get the iFixit teardown, and I'm sure they'll be extra excited to put the Air through its paces when that comes out, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and that's the other speculation that a lot of people are talking about is like this is a precursor to the Fold because it accomplishes a lot of what you need to do to make a folding phone work, which is make that really thin layer for the other screens because once it's folded over double, you want it to be not much thicker or same thickness as a standard phone, right? That's what Samsung showed off this year. And Samsung basically followed the same pattern. Like they introduced the Edge
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
and then they introduced the updated Fold 7, which is like remarkably thin. That was
Yeah.
basically just two edges sandwiched
But
together.
like even the thinness of the phone itself is just a flex. Like
Oh, yeah.
there's no practical reason, like besides the, oh, like this feels like unreal aspect that you're mentioning with these YouTubers seeing it. Like there's no practical reason for it to need to be that thin. But
No,
the same was true for like the MacBook Air when they
that's right.
introduced it. Right? It's like, why do you need your laptop to be that thin? Are you sliding it under a door? Like,
You're putting it
no.
in an envelope, a manila envelope.
Like, right, that was a very famous demo, but like super impractical in the real world,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah.
it truly does come back to them just flexing their engineering prowess.
Yeah, it does. And they're very good at it. And they're, to your point, like, I haven't really thought about this, but they are kind of like understated about it in a way, which is interesting, right? Like, you'd think they would be more, but they do understand their buyer so well. And they know that their buyer doesn't care at all that these are like amazing feats of technical engineering, right? They're just like, oh, great. Like, what have you done for me lately, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is probably the thing that I think people miss the most about Apple, but that is the most laudable thing about Apple is that they will pursue these extreme design challenges, knowing that they are not going to get the credit or the plaudits for it that they deserve, uh, because all they're going to do is ratchet up the expectation of their customer for the next generation, right? Like, not only do you get no thanks, you actually just like move the bar further along for what you need to do next time.
You make your life harder in the future.
Yeah, yeah. But they are like, and so this extends to the Pro, which we should talk a bit about too. But like the Pro has a new vapor cooling chamber in it, which is also just a marvel of technology. Like there is a drop of water inside of the phone, which is turned like from liquid into gas and then back again continually to cool the phone. Like that's absurd, right? And yet, like they did it. Like, did they need to do it? I don't know. Probably not. Like, I guess there were some overheating problems with the last phone, but this is one of those things. They also added this thing called Genlock, which is like a frame by frame synchronization protocol for filming, so that if you're filming with multiple iPhone Pros, your video will stay in sync frame by frame. Like normally
Wild.
time code syncs are like you start and it starts the clock at the same time on each device. But this has a continual, like, it checks frame by frame to keep it in sync. So it's like, why would you do that? Like,
Yeah.
that's also absurd,
That is
right?
very much just a flex. I mean, think about the total number of users that would actually impact,
Right.
right? Like how many
It's
people
1,000, like
yeah,
at most.
how many people are shooting with multiple iPhones, much less care about things being synced up to the frame? It's just a handful, and it probably took months of engineering to do this the right way, but they're like, look, we can do this. No one else can. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Well, there's speculation that it was like maybe designed specifically for use in either 28 Days Later, which was filmed, I think, on iPhone, if not
Sure.
mostly on iPhone, if not entirely, or F1, which also had a lot of
Sure.
sequences and a lot of stuff where you could tell there was multi-camera rigs that needed to be in sync. So people are speculating they just did it for that, and then they were like, well, we already did it, so like let's just ship it to everybody as a product, right?
Right.
But this is what I was talking about with like the Pro features really earn their, like the Pro phones really earn their Pro moniker now with stuff like that, right? And they have a better zoom lens. So I'm sure you were happy about this, Greg, but they have now a 48 megapixel sensor behind it's a 4x zoom. So it is reduced in its overall zoom capability from 5x optical on the first one. This one's 4x, not zoom rather, but like focal length. And then they can crop from that to the center of the thing to give you an 8x optical quality, as Apple calls it, but really it's just a crop, right?
Optical flavor.
Yeah. It has the flavor of optics. Yeah. But yeah, like very impressive stuff. And it is that and the unibody construction. Another just like, that's just more flex on the engineering side, right? Like you carve this one back out of a solid block of aluminum again. And they did it just for heat dissipation again, like basically. Because if there's one thing that's terrible at dissipating heat, it's glass, right? Glass is actually awful at it. So now most of the phone and the back are aluminum, and then it has a cutout for, I think, wireless and also for the MagSafe charging. That is the ceramic glass, and it's the upgraded ceramic. So that's the other thing all the phones now get is this upgraded ceramic coating, which is supposed to be 2x more scratch resistant. I get it, like one of those things where you're like, I don't know what that means relative to like 2 times what, like 2 times last time. Great. I will still scratch it for sure. I scratch every phone screen inevitably within like a week and a half or something.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, cool. Oh, and they also added anti-reflective coating across all of them. This new 5 or 6 layer anti-reflective coating. And I was a little bit skeptical of this too, because they've made similar claims in the past, but there were some great videos online from YouTubers who were there showing it under the hall lights next to their own devices. And it was far more legible on the new devices, like under the big bright spotlights and stuff, right? So more just stuff where it's like, yeah, we could do this. And we're like lapping competitors, like no one's even coming close to this, and yet we just do it for funsies essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about the colors?
Mad. It's my I mean, another big reason, not a big reason, but one of the factors I considered in my calculus about which of these devices do I get was like, hey, the Pro doesn't come in a black or black equivalent. There is no dark gray or black, and therefore I can't have it. That's the only color that is acceptable to me. So,
especially because you won't put a case on stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think these ones look actually really cool from like an industrial design perspective, and the orange looks good. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
The blue
I was
is
honestly
whatever.
very tempted by the orange just because of the fact that I lose my phone 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh, you'd spot it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If my kid is like, "Hey, can I use your phone for a second?" then pops it on the couch, my phone or my couch is dark blue, right? Like my phone, the dark blue model will just disappear into my couch.
New one is designed to camouflage with your couch, basically.
Yeah, I need one like this orange one. It's just like, it's here. Your phone is right here. I wish this one like blinked.
Yeah,
right. I wish there was like friggin' klaxon on it or a spotlight that would shine up into the air.
Yeah. Actually, that's something they still don't do. That some Android phones used to do that I loved, which was like the color LED notification light thing. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So there's like the silverish, there's the orangish, there's the bluish. I ended up going with the blue one, just because when I averaged it out across the different hands-on photos that I saw, that was my favorite one.
It's a very attractive blue. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it looks bad. It's just like, I want something that is like looks like it could be black, but is black, right? And the blue is the closest that comes to it. There's also a practical benefit, which I think Marquez Brownlee or somebody pointed out, which like he can't have a light phone because he spends too much time recording things in which a reflection might show up, and also the circle around the lens is white, so that you might get more flaring. I think was his problem.
Oh, interesting.
Some kind of reflection. Anyway.
Yeah.
Because he was like, can't do orange, and then that was the closest he Marquez also famously only loves matte black things. So
yeah. I mean, that's those use cases or those needs are probably very, very specific to Marquez or other YouTubers who
Yeah.
are shooting a lot of stuff where you would never ever want another gadget's reflection to show up in.
But I mean, the thing is that who else is like these are aimed so specifically at video
That's true.
professionals
Yeah,
in so many
that's
other
true.
ways, right?
The orange one specifically absolutely will show up in reflections in
Yeah.
videos. That's
It
wild.
will, and it's also extremely eye-catching. So if you want something unobtrusive for like street shooting or whatever,
Yeah.
it doesn't do that job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have to assume that there's like with the new unibody stuff, like they could only make so many colors, right? To fit, like to have a certain number of SKUs and have a certain number ready at launch, right? They couldn't have done, maybe 3 was the cap on how many colors they really could have feasibly done in time for launch. And so if they offered a black, everybody just would have gone with black.
Yeah.
And it's not that good of an advertisement for them versus like seeing this orange, this orange Pro phone that someone paid $2,000 for or whatever on the subway, right? Is like free advertising. Right?
I do think that's a big reason. I think they wanted to corner buyers into picking the one that was the most
that stands
beneficial for them in terms of saying, making a very definitive statement of like, this person selected iPhone and you should too, right?
I mean, almost certainly down the road they'll introduce the, like, I don't know if it'll be an 18 or it'll be like a mid-year release or whatever. They'll probably introduce more color options here, and it'll probably include black. But for the aforementioned reasons of availability and wanting it to stand out, they're probably avoiding it for now. Yeah,
no, and I like it. I used to get like the tough, like the Olympus tough cameras and stuff for like using underwater and stuff. And I always got the orange. They always had like a signature orange that looked very much like this orange. And I did like it for that purpose. But to me, that is associated with like, yeah, I'm on vacation. Like it's fun, flashy, and not just like every day. Every day I want my phone to be as inobtrusive as possible. And so I went black iPhone Air, right?
Nice.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, I am curious about if I get annoyed about the battery or something and then do a rare mid-cycle upgrade, but hopefully not. Hopefully I stick with the Air, and I'm happy with that until next year when the Fold comes around and I inevitably get the Fold, which I will definitely do as soon as they release one.
Do you think they will? Do you think they're going to go foldable?
I think they will. I think it might miss next year, but I think they will do it after that. There's this, like, they keep pushing at this other form factor or additional spaces. Like basically they did the mini, then they did the plus, which was like the max sized version of the standard iPhone, and the Air replaces the plus. Like I think that's something people might not realize is like it's basically just the plus from last year. It's like the mid-tier, slightly more expensive device in the lineup now, and it has a screen that kind of matches. This is another reason I picked it, because it has a 6.5 inch screen as opposed to 6.3 on the entry level or the Pro basic one, and then 6.9 on the Max, which is way too big, that as I learned this entire past year using the Max. So 6.5 is kind of like just right from a screen size perspective.
I was so tempted by the Max. I
mean,
was so tempted to go with the Max, but
it's awesome for so many reasons, especially if you're trying to consume video on that. It looks great, but it's so big. It's so big. And my pants pockets are crazy. It's pulling my pants all the way down.
Yeah, I tried to balance it out, right? Like the number of times I use my current phone, which is, Pro sized, and I'm like, oh, I wish the screen on this was a little bit bigger. That's actually pretty rare, right? Yeah. Like it's sufficient 95% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if I switch to a Max, the number of times where I'm going to be like, oh, I wish this was smaller, it's going to be pretty much all the time.
Yeah, that's my experience exactly. And I ping pong back and forth between them, and I constantly have both those experiences. And then I forget for the next year and then switch to the other side for some dumb reason. That's why I'm really happy that the Air is in the middle, because I feel like maybe it'll be the best compromise in terms of those things, right? Yeah. Also, it's not going to be nearly as, it's just going to feel like nothing in the pocket, right? Which will hopefully be good. And second thing about this that helped me make this decision was that I recently picked up a Red Magic Astra gaming tablet. Not because I like gaming on tablets, which I think is stupid, or, well, if you're a tablet gamer, it's great. Listen to the podcast. But I got it because 8.9-inch beautiful OLED display with 120 hertz refresh rate and like Dolby Vision compatibility. And it's like a fantastic cart around like movie watching thing, right? I do not love the like movie and comic. I read comics on it all the time, but I don't love the like 11-inch size is maybe too big, and this one is like more iPad mini, except it has an amazing display. This is another thing where it's like, Apple, if you just made the iPad mini with an OLED display, problem solved. I don't need to go looking around at red magic. Like, fuck that shit, right? But yeah. And every time I do these, that one was actually, this one has been fine. It's been very solid so far. But to your point about their like ability to just out engineer everyone else from a hardware perspective, you'll probably remember a couple weeks ago I talked about that dual screen Windows laptop I had.
Yeah.
I returned it because I was like, this thing has a bunch of just weird, stupid, junky things that after looking online, like is just par for the course for Asus, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, the fan makes this annoying whiny noise, and like, yeah, the speaker buzzes. It doesn't have great like ability to handle loud sounds, and like when you plug it in, it makes a slow electronic whine while using it. And I looked it up, and everyone's just like, yeah, this is expected behavior. And I'm like, that's unacceptable. Like, you cannot make a computer that you're going to charge $2,000 for that those things, right? And that's because I'm spoiled by the Apple experience. Like, they just don't do that as a matter of course. And if you get one that does that, you're like, oh, this one's defective, and then you send it back, right? But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of my rant against all other manufacturers, but
I went back. This is the tangent of all tangents, but with Asus, something that sticks out to me with their brand and will until the day I die is the fact that one time I was working with an Asus graphics card in a gaming tower, and I had a glass of water next to it, and somehow, I still will never understand, I managed to punch the glass of water into the case. And the only thing that continued to work was this Asus graphics card.
Oh, okay.
And so everything else was basically fried in this tower. But that Asus graphics card held out. So
see, this is balance, a balanced podcast. We have some bad things about Asus, some good things about Asus.
This was also like 20 years ago, so who knows?
Yeah, but and I should say that Red Magic Astro tablet is actually fine. It's actually like, it feels like very solid hardware. There are no hardware problems with that device. So I'm not trying to cast aspersions broadly. I'm just trying to emphasize your point that like Apple really does go above and beyond when it comes to hardware quality and hardware engineering, right?
Yeah. When it comes to the hardware, there's very rarely stuff where you're like, oh, like, why does this suck like this?
Yeah.
Oh, like, why did they like cut this corner or whatever, right? It's just always beautiful. Okay, so there was iPhone, there was AirPod, there was watch. Was there anything else? Did we miss anything?
No, I don't think so. And if there was, that's Apple's fault. Because they didn't, like, interestingly, because it wasn't memorable enough, but they didn't interestingly mention anything about Apple Intelligence. Oh. And they also didn't say Siri one time during the event. So, those are interesting omissions, but like, I think they mentioned Apple Intelligence with respect to the translation for the AirPods, but not beyond that. So, I don't know what's going on with that stuff. They're definitely in a let's go back to the drawing board and figure this stuff out mode. And that still is the thing. Somebody had a video or a tweet about it, but like, they were just like, going to Pixel for a little while feels like jumping like 5 years into the future from an AI services and software perspective versus using an iPhone, right? And I think that still is the thing that in the back of my mind, I'm like, like if that continues to get better in a way that is integrated into the system at the fundamental level, then I'm going to probably want to bounce. But right now, I don't think there's enough difference between using Gemini in the way that I would use Gemini normally through an app versus using it as an always-on device-based feature. So that was also the deciding point for me, and like not switching to Android.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I get it, but I also don't think the phone is ultimately going to prove to be the ultimate form factor for AI.
No.
Right? I mean, we've seen things like the Rabbit, or all these little like friend, or all these hardware devices trying to come out and like be the device form factor for AI. But like the main use cases that I really, really, really want someone to nail with AI is like a Star Trek communicator kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if that's AirPods. I don't know if that's something in glasses, but I want to be able to just be like, ask a question.
Yeah.
Right. And get the answer, but also to be able to look at something and without having to pull my phone out and open the camera and all that. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but just be like, what's that? You know,
Right.
like I just touched this bush. Am I going to get a rash? Do I need to go wash my hands?
Yeah.
Right. But just to have that like not on the phone is really ideal. So I'm not stressing too hard about the integration, because it's like, as long as the apps are there that I need, and as long as I can get to, like you're saying, right? Like the integration doesn't make it so much better that it makes me want to switch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that device style integration will be very exciting when it comes, and like the apotheosis, I guess, of like the AI gadget will be very interesting. Yeah. And that is how I want to use it too. And I'm not unconvinced that like Apple can't get there still. Like I still think they might be the ones who are like, because they're rumored to introduce glasses next year too, right? That were kind of like Meta's glasses, except I think with a lot of the intelligent features you're talking about. And that's, people were pointing to the miniaturization in the iPhone era of all the system on a chip components and being like, see, you can imagine like how this goes into glasses, and then that becomes its own sort of thing. But like, as you were talking about that, I'm like, yeah, I want that too. And I don't want it to be glasses necessarily, because that's an inconvenience. And like, I don't want it to be the humane pin, because that obviously didn't work. But like something like that, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, what if it was just like a bracelet? Because you could point to things, and then it had somehow like very wide angle cameras in there with like they're tiny cameras, but machine recognition to be able to figure out what it is you're pointing at. Or this is extremely dystopian, but you point at something and then it just taps into like all the various security camera feeds that are available worldwide.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess when you mentioned the bracelet thing, it does bring back like years and years ago, people were playing, or manufacturers were playing with this idea of a camera in a smartwatch, and it just didn't make sense. It's like the only reason you would want this is like, it's all creepy stuff, right? Like at no point I'm gonna be like, all right, everybody, like line up, like bloop, you know. But for the sake of AI, all of a sudden it does make sense.
I know, and that's why Zuckerberg was supposed to be working on one. Like I think the past two, I think he shelved it, but then there was maybe a renewed rumor that it's back into production or development or whatever. But yeah, I still think there's possibility there. I think everybody feels the same way with the end state. It's just like, how do we get to that end state in a way that is like A, not creepy, and B, like actually practically possible, right? Yeah. But yeah, that does it for Apple. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention, just because it is, again, another indication of how they're like very thoughtful and do really serious engineering, is that they figured out a way to do hypertension warnings with the Apple Watch, with the existing sensors on the Apple Watch. I think it's using the blood oxygen sensor or the heart rate sensor, probably the heart rate sensor, but it can detect when you might be at risk for hypertension, which is just high blood pressure, and give you a warning about that in the same way that they give warnings for cardiac arrhythmia and stuff like that now, right? And that's all on the machine learning side. It's all just data processing that they figured out how to do with their existing sensor suite. And you get it even if you don't upgrade to the newest watch. I think it goes back at least one generation as a software update, right?
Yeah. No, this is awesome. Like that is legitimately going to save lives, because like a lot of people, and I'm talking out of my ass here a little bit and making some assumptions, but a lot of people that are kind of on the edge of hypertension go to their doctor, and it's like a dice roll as to whether or not it shows up in that moment, right? And then if it does, their doctor's like, like this is a little bit high, you're kind of on the edge, we'll think about it in 6 months. And then that's out of people's heads, right? They don't think about it. So to have something on your wrist that's like actively monitoring constantly throughout the day, and can be like, hey, like seriously, like you want to get this looked at, like this will lead to gnarly stuff down the road, is huge. And it absolutely will save lives.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And this is the kind of thing that I think they're not even close to the end of what they can do with it. have an extremely talented like medical research team, and they continue to just do these broad-based studies in partnership with universities that look at the signals they receive from people's health monitoring and data. It's the largest sample group of that available anywhere in the world, obviously, because there
Yeah.
are millions of people who have Apple Watches.
Yeah.
And they can, then they develop brand new algorithms that detect different things. So I think that's always the one to watch. And it's, again, like a silent, slow, sort of like not super interesting thing in the grand mix, but
Yeah.
cumulatively like a huge wedge and advantage for them. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's something we've talked about before, but they have to walk this very fine line between like what they're calling like warnings, right? Or like alerts versus like actually diagnosing someone
Right.
with any of this stuff, right? Like they probably could, with the data they have, almost certainly diagnose it and be like, yes, you have this.
Yeah.
But for myriad reasons, they can't do that, right? They're just not allowed to. And so the closest they can get is like these alerts of like, hey, like talk to your doctor. Like, you pay attention to this.
Yeah. But I have no doubt they're thinking about ahead to a time in which they do diagnostic, right? Like I think it's always something they're evaluating, and they're just doing a very balanced risk-reward calculus about it. But at some point, I think they probably make the jump and become medical device certified and start doing a lot more on that side, right? It's just, it'll just be a matter of how long does it take and how much are they working behind the scenes with the FDA or other bodies to figure out when they are able to do that safely.
Yeah.
And with
Well,
confidence.
it's also kind of funny because there's more to it. And this is where, once again, we're going on a wild tangent here. A lot of people with their health don't like to think about it.
Yeah.
They like health stuff to be a thing. Like they think about it when they go to their doctor. They like, people avoid tests because they feel like they're opening some Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Right. And so to have a diagnostic device constantly living on your wrist would actually probably scare some people away from wearing it in the first place. Because they're like, oh, I don't want to know that. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Blah, you know, like,
yeah.
Right. And so there's also that, like, even if they could be a diagnostic device tomorrow, there's a big contingency of people who wouldn't want that on their wrist just because of the kind of like background stress that adds.
Yeah. And that happens too with sleep scores too, because they added sleep scores too, which again, I forgot. But like, I've already heard people talking about like, I don't really want a sleep score because it skews me. Like I'll wake up feeling like I feel great. And then I look at the score and it's like, you scored a 57. You should feel like crap. And then I start feeling like crap.
Oh, right? Now I feel like crap.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes a lot of sense. But, okay, well, I think that about covers it pretty exhaustively, actually. So well done, us.
That's us. That's it.
Yeah, and this is a special single tasker episode of the show. Let us know how you feel about it. We can do more in the future. And if you want to send us which phone you got or wanted to get or thought was interesting, that's also fun. We could talk more about it if we get a number of answers in future. But Greg, I don't know. I'm excited to get mine. It's going to be a while because I got to go away on vacation before, like on the day that it's supposed to actually arrive. So mine will be time delayed. But I'll probably get those new AirPods while I'm out there just so I can try them out live.
You're going to Japan, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's going to be probably a little bit of delay with the show. Are we going to try to shoot when you're in Japan? What are you thinking?
I think we might take a break, our first actual break, because the time zone is super inhospitable to working back here in concert. But yeah.
Well, right on. Enjoy hunting for limited edition Japanese Labubus.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh boy, Labubu bros out. And I have to open this live. I have to.
Is there more to know about this than that it's Labubu? Because I don't know, within the world of Labubu, I don't know enough to know if this is something special.
Oh, me neither.